We have this very special guest, Mr. S. Ramadorai, here at the BSE Convention Center, the former chairman of BSE, under whom the whole process of IPO was set in motion. Mr. Ramadorai, as always, thanks for sparing this time and speaking to ET now. Sir, how has it been? It was under your leadership that this whole process was set in motion. Great to see you today here. A great IPO listing with a great premium of close to 32%. How do you feel? Because you also importantly referred that you have only seen two IPOs, one of course of TCS and now of BSE.
I think first of all, thanks to ET now for carrying this broadcast, which is a very, very historical moment in the stock exchange market of this country. BSE is the first one to list, and we have seen the opening bell as well as the closing price, which is absolutely fascinating, and it's a very, very important journey in the milestone of this country. Started almost 10 years ago, and that's where we are culminated in this listing today, which is just a beginning as I see it.
Mr. Ramadorai, if I could ask you, as you're rightly saying, it took almost 10 years and even between last March and now for the whole listing to happen. Actually, where were the primary challenges? Because in country like India, we all know self-listing was something which the regulator was not comfortable, so that itself took a time for the decision to be made. But as a chairman, when you were heading BSE, where do you felt the primary challenges where it actually took all the policyholders and decision makers to come to this stage and finally allow an equity exchange to get listed?
I think I would classify under a different set of categories. First of all, we should be absolutely clear internally that we are ready for the journey, which means your whole compliance, separation of compliance from any other activity in the company or the exchange, the management and the depth of management to take over any responsibility with the succession plan that should be in place. Third is the financial, dissemination of financial, disaggregation of financial, and the processes behind it, including the people and the process and the technology. The most important is the ability of the stock exchange to scale up with the kind of technology and the technology upgradation this took place. These I classify under the internal set of activities which got strengthened year after year after year. The board revamped, the board responsibility and the set of independent directors in the board, the women director in the board, I think it was again an evolving journey. So look at all of this, quite a bit of activities, it's going to take a couple of years. The external stakeholders, namely the brokers wanting it to be listed, plus the merchant bankers, the auditors, every one of them wanting to be comfortable. And last but not the least is the regulators and the regulatory environment in the country itself with regard to listing of exchanges, whether it was self-listing, listing on other exchanges, and how it was going to play out from a policy framework point of view, the committees that were set up, and ultimately all of them came together, and BSE was the first one to say that we would like to certainly list because we think the journey was fairly comfortable for us to roll it.
Mr. Ramadorai, wealth creation is something which you know how TCS has given kind of returns over a period of time. How important is for an average investor, particularly the retail investors, to stay in a stock, particularly from a long-term perspective, to ensure that that wealth creation happens?
I think my only request to every single investor is look at any institution from a long-term point of view instead of every quarter how we are performing. It's a journey, it's not an end at the end of a quarter. Some quarters may be difficult, but at the same time, the explanations and the reasons for that challenges must be articulated very clearly and transparently. Investors want to see the trust in the management and the institution behind it and the board of directors behind it. But more importantly, investors have to play for the long term. That's the way I would say.
And Mr. Ramadorai, with your permission, before I could let you go, it's not easy to get you on television as always. We all know, how do you see the challenges that the IT sector is facing currently in the country? Because that is one sector which you have seen from the initial stages to what it is for India at this point of time, and particularly with the new regime coming in US, all talks about H-1B visas getting curtailed, so on and so forth. How do you see things panning out for the IT sector going forward?
I'll say a couple of things. One is it's a $150 billion industry employing more than 4 to 4.5 million professionals, plus an indirect employment of about 8 to 10 million. That's the starting point. The innovation capability and the re-engineering capability proactively of a set of companies who are part of the NASSCOM, led by companies like TCS, is absolutely amazing. So innovation is going to play out. The market access and the ability of people to go across to any part of the world to provide a service, I think it's all interlinked with the trade and the trade negotiations as it goes along. Congresses will react in a certain way, Senate will react in a certain way, the new president and the new administration will react in a certain way. But at the end of the day, I think the global world order will always be preserved, in my opinion, and that's what we expect all the countries to subscribe to the World Trade Organization very clearly. You also have to look at markets beyond traditional markets. Look at India as a market itself, with a population of 1.3 billion. The level of penetration of technology is still a lot to be desired, and we are going to see a lot of growth in this market itself. So I think the traditional markets, the mature markets will certainly look for appropriate talent, cutting-edge technologies, cutting-edge expertise, followed by global opportunities, including our own country. That's the way I look at the industry. It's a very mature industry today, which can take up a number of challenges. Regulatory framework, the government will certainly support us and will help us in articulating some of the problems.
So at a government-to-government level, how do you see, what is the precise thing that the government should do at this point of time?
I think it's all part of the discussions, how the administration at the other end sees vis-a-vis the ministry concerned here, what is the kind of trade between the two countries, how it is important from a strategic point of view rather than a tactical point of view. That's the way I would put government to government.
And my last question, sir. TCS is going through a transition. It's a company which you have been nurtured and associated very closely. How do you see the new team? What is that Mr. Ramadorai would like to tell them for the new team at TCS? And of course, one of your closest colleagues, Mr. Chandrasekharan, taking over as Tata. And what is that you would say about him, and what is that you would like to say to him?
I think I would like to congratulate all the three of them, namely Chandra going over to the chairman designate of Tata Sons. Very soon he's going to take it over. He'll do a tremendous job. Rajesh Gopinath, who has taken over or going to be taking over the CEO and Managing Director, and N. Ganapathy Subramanian, who is going to be the Chief Operating Officer and President. It's a tremendous team with a depth of management which is very much there within this corporation. We have built talent from within. We have given them a set of values, ethics, true tradition of Tata's, TCS, and ultimately execution and operational excellence is all what we want. I think these are people who have done with their hands, rolled up their sleeves. My only wish is the very best for them, and I'm sure they will be very, very proud of what they are doing, and the market will be very proud, and the management, the board, everyone will be very proud of them.
And for Sir Chandra, the best person to take forward the Tata legacy in this situation?
I think it's always a challenge. If there are no challenges, there are no opportunities. We're going to look at each of the challenges, opportunities, and he will do a terrific job with a set of team and people who are going to support him.
Sir Ramadorai, once again, thanks. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.